Coloradans who want to rebuild their homes after the East Troublesome fire can't. There's too much demand for home builders.
I would say at least a year. Local builders are already scheduled through 2022. I know our company is scheduled into 2025.
State health leaders will track whether Omicron gathers with us for the holidays. The numbers certainly don't show a post-Thanksgiving spike. Social media tends to be the bubble we build ourselves. CU researchers are studying the harm that can come from sorting everything by likes and dislikes. And listen, I enjoy lighting the lights as much as the next guy, but that's a lot. How about a little holiday cheer? Minimal decorations, maximum joy. Next. Take one of Colorado's most popular areas for people moving in to build new homes. Add a devastating wildfire, creating a frantic need to rebuild existing homes. And what you end up with is a real problem. It's happening in Grand County. Here's Mark Salinger.
In a county of around 15,000 people, the number of businesses is limited.
Overwhelmed would be a good descriptor for all aspects.
Overwhelmed, an industry charged with rebuilding Grand County after the East Troublesome fire, is feeling the impact of a lack of resources.
Local builders are already scheduled through 2022. I know our company is scheduled into 2025.
Steve Jensen owns Mountaintop Builders and is the president of the Grand County Builders Association. The wait to build a home in the area could be several years long now. 254 permits were issued this year for new single-family homes. That's more than double 2020, when the number was 103. The year before, it was 114.
The majority of the builders in Grand County are small volume builders. Our capacity is such that we can only do 3 to 4 homes a year.
While the number of permits issued for new home construction is way up this year, it's not only because of people rebuilding after the fire. Only 94 permits have been issued for fire rebuilds, less than half of all people who say they want to rebuild. The other 160 permits issued this year are part of a boom Grand County has seen in more people moving to the area during the pandemic. It's forced the building industry to begin prioritizing rebuilding people's homes after the fire over building someone else's second home.
The building department has made it a priority to process permit applications for fire rebuilds.
There are only so many building companies in an area like Grand County. After working for months, if not years, to get money from insurance, it could take several more years to actually be able to build the home. So the obvious question that comes from all of this is why not just hire builders from Denver, for example, to come build more homes up there? Some folks are doing that, but then you run into similar problems down the line in the building process with vendors and people like electricians and carpenters. Kyle, there aren't enough of them in Grand County either.
Yeah, and bringing somebody in to build a house in an area as opposed to going with a local builder seems like it could have its own set of challenges. Yep. So obviously folks are now waiting to rebuild. We talk also about inflation that has hit recently and inflation in the cost of labor, construction materials.
Yeah, the cost of a lot of construction materials is up, which of course adds another layer to this problem that's ongoing, as well as insurance. Mm-hmm. The Grand County Builders Association, they just got a big grant that allows people to buy building materials with that money. They're hoping that at least helps put a dent in that burden that people are having to pay.
You know, it's interesting to see with the challenges that they have, there's a lot of smart people up in Grand County trying to figure out creative ways to keep people local.
And they need to do that because this is such a big problem.
All right, Mark, thank you. So we're watching Omicron variant cases in Colorado, honestly, with more interest than alarm these days. There's only 5 of those confirmed cases, though that variant of COVID's also been detected in a couple places in wastewater sampling in our state. So not only does Omicron appear to be less serious than the Delta variant in terms of severity of illness, it's also not showing Delta's explosive growth curve here. State public health leaders say they're in wait-and-see mode.
I think we have time over the next couple of weeks to really try and understand what the timeline might look like here in Colorado and in the U.S. in general for when we could expect to see a rapid increase in cases and when, how long that increase might last, how high that increase might go, what the hospitalization rate might look like. I certainly, based on what we're seeing elsewhere, do expect that we will, over the next couple of weeks, continue to see an increase in Omicron cases. I think we just don't know how quickly at this point.
So again, we only know that a case exists if somebody gets sick enough to go get tested, or they get tested like at work or school. That's why the state also does that wastewater sampling to see where the variant is circulating in the community. And they found it through that method in Denver, Boulder, Aurora, Commerce City, and Lakewood. Most road projects in the future in Colorado will now be designed with an emphasis on their environmental impact after a decision today by the Transportation Commission of Colorado. It's a 10-1 vote to approve a resolution requiring additional steps in the planning process of major transportation projects. The projects must now help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and cut local air pollution. If a plan does not lower emissions, then CDOT and metropolitan planning organizations can implement other measures to provide travelers with alternate transportation like bike sharing services or creating safer and more accessible walkways. Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems is closer to making Fox News pay for falsely claiming that the 2020 election was rigged. Dominion claims that those lies about its equipment ruined its business's reputation, and the company from Denver is suing for $1.6 billion. CNBC reports a judge in Delaware ruled today that Dominion does have a claim for defamation that should go to trial. So our social media feeds are tailored to show us what we like, or in some cases, what will make us angry enough to react there. The algorithms that make that possible also keep other topics way out of our view. Our Victoria De Leon explains why researchers in Colorado would like to change that.
All right, folks, we will get started in just a minute.
During his class,
Today we're going to talk about models of networks.
Robin Burke teaches students about network and computer science.
And like a lot of things we talk about in this class, there's ongoing research on the best
Outside
way
of
to model
class,
networks.
he's working on his own research.
I've been working on recommender systems for a long time.
Scroll through social media or browse the internet, and there are algorithms in the background collecting information about what you like and what you don't.
And so your news feed is different from my feed.
Eventually, those systems on social media will start to show mostly or only things that you interact with. Whether it's a product, news, or music, it will all start to look similar, and that can be harmful.
If you click on articles or posts or things that represent a particular point of view, and the system says, okay, we're going to show you more of that, and we're not going to show you anything else, eventually you can end up in a situation where you have very homogeneous set of inputs.
Burke says these kinds of algorithms can also unfairly affect artists and content creators from underrepresented communities.
Let's say I'm looking for hip-hop music, and the system gives me a lot of male artists. I think, oh, well, maybe there aren't that many female rap artists, when actually that's not true.
With his research,
Also, if you have questions,
he hopes to create responsive system and algorithms that present fair content distribution.
this is a good time.
For Next, I'm Victoria De Leon.
Burke says there's no system that's going to fix everything here. So researchers are going to work to identify the objectives of different organizations. They hope to create a system that companies and nonprofits could use to then build their own fairer algorithms. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week is helping to provide encouragement and honestly just a fun distraction for kids who are spending the holidays in the hospital. The nonprofit Bags of Fun delivers backpacks filled with personalized gifts for kids like electronic games and toys, stuff geared towards their age range. And then they deliver those backpacks to kids in the hospital facing life-threatening illnesses, something to take their mind off why they're there. Nonprofit recently expanded their work to include young people in pediatric mental health treatment. We know that's at a crisis point in Colorado these days. You scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491. I'll send you that link to join me in donating. Since last night, you have raised more than $13,000 to bring joy and a welcome distraction to kids in the hospital. A longtime journalist says we're badly botching our political coverage. He'll be here with suggestions. The Rocky isn't coming back, but it is coming to life again.
The newspaper is very much a part of people's lives in a very intimate way.
It's not lazy, it's creative. Let the other TV shows focus on the flashy holiday displays. Less is more. Next. We had a recent conversation here about how to fairly cover Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who frequently says false and bigoted things to get attention. I said that I think that we in the media hold her to a lower standard than other elected officials because she does it so often. The former publisher of Pulp News magazine in Pueblo, John Rodriguez, said my commentary was hypocritical and missed the point. So I asked him to offer his view here.
Well, here we go again, another outrage cycle and the call for better journalism. Remember Cory Gardner in the Denver Post? Birtherism, the Northern Colorado secession movement? In Pueblo County, there's been assault on elections. Lamborn called President Obama a racist slur. Buck taunted Biden and Beto. Remember Tom Tancredo? And now Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. The truth is the media covered all this. Maybe it overlooked the pattern, but there was coverage of the outrage. Kyle and I agree more journalism is needed on Boebert. I disagree that Colorado media has the desire to understand the fears, hopes, and struggles of living in my part of the state. This uncertainty, I believe, is causing a rise in our outrage politics. Sure, maybe the fall of local news has allowed for a lack of accountability, but this is something darker. The media is fixated on the outrage again and not focusing on the story. Boebert made her bigoted comments, and the Pueblo County Republican Share told a local TV station that Boebert expressed the sentiment of many Americans. Acceptance of her bigoted comments is the story, but instead Kyle's commentary dominated. I don't know if Colorado media has the stomach or stamina to go beyond parachute journalism and sensational headlines to do the type of reporting to understand my part of Colorado. I fear it doesn't. Make no mistake about it, Boebert's behavior is an existential crisis to democracy and must be met with daily, unrelenting coverage. So let's start there. Colorado media asks the hard question of the CO third. Is Boebert, her bigotry, her lack of decency, and anti-democratic behavior representative of a majority in this district? Maybe we won't like that answer, but at least it will give voters a fighting chance to understand why people are choosing hate over decency.
Sunshine today, temperatures in the 50s, not as windy, but we're tracking another storm. It'll be cooler tomorrow with a chance for a little mountain snow. Temperatures in the 40s and 50s this afternoon. We'll see low 40s tomorrow. We've got a winter weather advisory for the mountains. It may see several inches of snow, and our windstorm creating another line of thunderstorms from Dallas and Memphis out to the Cincinnati area. Snow reports 3 to 6 inches of fresh snow for you skiers, and it's going to be great snowboarding, especially in the northern mountains with, again, additional 3 to 6 inches of snow tonight and tomorrow. Lower elevations will stay dry. We'll see a big cool down, but then temperatures really moderate heading into the weekend. Clear and 18 tonight with light winds, and then we get you into the weekend with, well, how about Friday's high at 43, mid-40s Saturday, and then close to 60 Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Not too bad.
You have inspired us to start a new segment. You know, the huge holiday light displays, they get the attention, but whatever happened to a little holiday cheer? Our request for your understated holiday displays brought in some real beauty. Stacy shared her dad's effort, or lack thereof. Got tired, the sign reads, with the lights in a big pile. This is now a tradition. He's done this 2 years in a row. Kate sent us a photo of her favorite simple Christmas display at a house in the Belcaro neighborhood of Denver. Single candle in the window. Kate told us we should look this one up, and we did. The interwebs say this is a Christmas tradition that dates to the 1600s, when the British were suppressing Catholicism in Ireland. Priests would sneak around town at night to hold mass for families, and Catholics would leave their door unlocked and a candle in the window to let the priest know that he was welcome to stop there. We would love to see the simple holiday displays that bring you joy or laughter. Send a little bit of holiday cheer to next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext on Twitter.
It was very important that not just disappear the way the newspaper did.
The Rocky Mountain News was the historical record for Colorado for almost 150 years. Decades of that history is about to open up for all to see again. That's next. The Rocky Mountain News wrote the first version of much of Colorado's history, from 1859 to the paper's closing in February of 2009. Soon, more than a century of the Rockies chronicling of Colorado will be available for all to see and read again.
We're in the Gates reading room of Western History and Genealogy at Denver Public Library. I'm going to try to find some of the older ones. I'm coordinating this project to digitize the Rocky Mountain News, so it'll be accessible to the public for free. This newspaper here, this is January 30th, 1897. These newspapers were not meant to last more than a few days. They've decayed, and in some cases fragmented.
The Rocky Mountain News was Colorado's oldest newspaper. It was the first newspaper in Colorado. My name is John Temple, and I was the editor, president, and publisher of the Rocky Mountain News. And I worked there 17 years. Felt very uniquely Colorado, the paper did.
Lots of cartoons in this one.
And it chronicled Colorado's history for 150 years.
The Rocky Mountain News was published from 1859 till 2009 when they were shut down, just shy of their 150th anniversary.
It was terrible to call it quits. It was devastating. It was one of the worst days of my life. I mean, it was a death in the family for Colorado. What we did, though, we were very aware of history when the paper closed. And so we were very careful to preserve for the Western History Collection.
We've had these since 2012, and we've been wanting to get them to the public. We've been trying to digitize them for a while.
We knew we were planting a seed, but we didn't know whether the tree would grow. And what's happened is the tree is growing, and that more and more we hope to see public access.
Western History Collection at the Denver Public Library main branch is just a gem in our community. So, hey, you may recall Phil Anschutz, the billionaire guy, bought the rights to the Rocky Mountain News name, like if he wants to start it up again. But the newspaper's final owners, the E.W. Scripps Company, gave the rights to the archive content to the public library before the Rocky folded. The library was able to start the digitization of the collection thanks to a former librarian, Hank Scharouse. When he died, he left $100,000 to the Western History Collection. It's a wildlife crossing sign unlike any one we have seen before. Plus your feedback on the man who was in this chair last night, next. It's a sign to keep an eye out for the deer that won't hear you coming. Jen spotted the sign outside Yampa. Deaf deer crossing next 4 miles. We tried reaching the town of Yampa for the backstory on this, but no luck. It's clearly not an official sign, so we're curious. Tell us about the hard-of-hearing deer, or whether this was just an attempt to get drivers to slow down and pay attention. Email any tips to next@9news.com or use the hashtag HeyNext. Feedback via text tonight. Happy to see you. Afraid you either left or been let go. If I'm leaving, I'll say goodbye. If I'm let go, yeah, I would just vanish. But yeah, I've had to miss a little time. I'm going to have to miss some time coming up, and I'm appreciative for everybody who's filling in on the show. Tom Green sat at the kids' table for the first time last night on Next. That was pretty cool. Shannon Dunn says Tom hosting Next was the best ever. And Sandra said he is the OG of bringing humor and personality to Denver news. I agree. If you're nice to him, maybe Tom will be back next time.